Mother Made You. Welcome back to my channel. It took a few weeks off. We were recovering from COVID, unfortunately. I still have a bit of a raspy voice, so bear with me on that. But we're all well now. Baby's well. He's going to be closely monitored after this point forward. And all three of us got it, so our whole household was down. So as we get closer to delivering our second baby, I'm getting a lot of requests to share Mila's birth story. So she is our 2-year-old girl, and we had a really amazing journey bringing her to the world. Her birth story is one of my favorite things ever, and it's part of the reason why I'm so excited to deliver this baby too. I do want to start the video by saying that this is how I chose to do my birth. Every birth story should be absolutely unique to what you feel is right, and no one should try and tell you otherwise. If you feel you want to do medicated or unmedicated, that's totally your choice. I really wanted to do an unmedicated birth. It was just very important for me. I wanted to feel everything. I wanted to go through the whole process with her and work together to bring her to the earth side. So there's a few things that I had set in place to make sure that I was going to get the kind of birth experience that I wanted, but I know that's never guaranteed. So anyways, we had a birth plan set in place. My midwife and I went through that together with Andre. We set it up and we shared it with my twin sister Erica, because she was my other support person. So I'll just kind of go through from start to finish how it went and when I started my labor. I was due December 26th and I still felt fine. I didn't really feel anything like happening or changing. And then December 27th is when things started to have movement for me. So we woke up, I was disappointed, I just wanted to have a baby, I wanted to meet her so bad. And I was like, you know what, Andre, let's just go to Winners. I know you need some new shoes, let's just go. Even though I could have a baby at any second. So we went to Winners, and it's pretty close to our house, and while we were there, I felt extremely off. I've had Braxton Hicks contractions like through a large part of my pregnancy, but these were way more intense, and they were a lot more rhythmic than random. We were standing beside the shoes, and I remember looking up, and I was like, we need to leave. We're having a baby. And he's like, oh God, okay, let's go. And so we just quickly went home. I called my midwife, I told her, and she said, okay, this is great. Let's just make sure that we get you to a place where the pain is like more increasing and your contractions are regular before we go and get admitted to the hospital, because I didn't want to come all the way back again. So I went through the night, the pain increased, it got more and more uncomfortable. And around 3 a.m., I called my midwife and my sister, and I said, we gotta go in. Like, I think they were only a few minutes apart, my contractions. And so we headed in. The car ride, oh my gosh, the car ride. If you've ever been in active labor in a car, it is so constricting and confining, and it's so uncomfortable. Like, the pain is unbearable because you have to sit in one place. But when you're in active labor, it's so much easier for you to be able to move around and just not feel stuck. So I remember like screaming the whole drive, like, Andre, go faster, go faster. And he's like, I can't. And I just wished in that moment I was in an ambulance or something, just so we could get there really fast. But yeah, that drive was awful. I was starting to scream, I just want my twin, I just want my twin. And the funniest part is right when we arrived to the hospital, drove in at the exact same time, which is wild. And I remember getting out and running. I don't know how I was running, but I was running. And I was like, so happy to see her. I just said, get over here, let's go. We went straight upstairs to labor and delivery and checked that I was, at that time, 5 centimeters when I arrived, so pretty far along. And then they admitted me to room 8, which is one of the delivery rooms. It was a really nice room, nice big space, kept the lights off like I said, we put on my music, and I just went into this place. I don't know how I did it, but I think it might have been all the preparation leading up to the moment, but I like left my body and I went into this mental place, and I stayed there so strongly. Everyone that walked in said, oh my God, she's in the zone. Like, Nikki is in the zone. I couldn't really talk to anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I remember Erica told me, she's like, "You're so quiet. Are you okay? You're not saying or doing anything." But I just needed to stay in this place to keep really focused. And I was just working through everything and feeling everything. And afterwards, thinking back on it, it was so beautiful, like the whole process. I remember I went to that place right away, and Andre's feet were hurting. They were sore. And he's like, "Can I just sit down?" And Erica's like, "I got it. Sit down." And I remember he fell asleep for like, I don't know, I think an hour. And at around like 5:30 in the morning, he fell asleep. And after I took a picture because I thought it was hilarious that he was sleeping and I'm going through this intense pain. But it was just a brief sleep. I know dads get tired too. Then 6 a.m. rolled around and things started to progress really fast. So I was only in active labor for a total of 7 hours and 20 minutes. And I spent pretty much the whole 7 hours kneeled on the floor beside the bed on a sweater. That's how I felt was most comfortable. And Erica kept saying, like, "Nikki, do you want a pillow under your legs? Can we get you some cushions?" And I just kept quietly nodding no. I just wanted to kneel on this sweater. As we got closer to 10 in the morning, I started to feel that the pain was becoming unbearable and it was getting really exhausting. So I decided to have a shower. Some people say showers help with the pain, or maybe it's just distraction, but I gave it a go anyways. It wasn't really for me. What helped me, honestly, was my twin sister was singing to me a lot. She was singing songs from my childhood and like tickling my back, and that really helped relax and calm me. Just having those pieces of comfort, I think. So I do really, really hope this time around Erica can be with me too. The world is a different place than it was 2.5 years ago, but I'm crossing my fingers she can be there with me. If not, I'm just going to be happy to have Andre by my side too. So yeah, anyways, we're getting closer to 10 a.m. and she was born at 10:28, like I said. I didn't have my midwife with me that was on my team most of the time because there was, I think, 5 babies being born all at the same time. And it was wild in the hospital. It was crazy. They had to run back and forth, deliver a baby, deliver a baby. It was just insane. There are so many babies born on December 28th around 10:28 a.m. I had like an on-call midwife helping me out through most of my experience, like checking on me. And she was so lovely. But I remember really close to when I was delivering her, because of all the endorphins being released and all the hormones and just all the pain and everything, I got something called labor high. So literally I felt like stoned. It was so funny. This midwife was standing beside the computer checking on things, and I thought she started to float, like flying or floating or something like that, but she was doing something not normal that people do. And I was like, "Why is she flying?" And they started to laugh. And then my other midwife that is on my team came in and she said, "Oh, Nikki, you look high." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "You're labor high, honey." I was like, oh gosh. I think that's like also a coping mechanism maybe for your body, but it seemed to really help me. And yeah, it was a good time. And then I started to get that sensation. It's kind of gross, like TMI, but it feels like you have to have a bowel movement when you're ready. And so I started to get that feeling. I said, "It feels like I have to do that." And they said, "Okay, we're going to push." So I got into a position I was comfortable with, not the typical one at first, like the traditional one with your legs up. I didn't feel like that was helpful for me. But then after a few minutes, I did move to that position because Mila's heart rate started to rise really fast. So they put a little monitor on the back of her head, and they called in an OB and they said, "You need to get the baby out." So that kind of scared me. and I was like, I'm gonna push with everything I have. I pushed in total for 20 minutes, but as I was pushing, she was getting stuck because of her shoulder was somehow stuck, and it wasn't making its way out. So my midwife actually had to go in at the very end, one of my last pushes, and help move her shoulder and pull her the rest of the way out. And I think because of a mixture of that stress near the end and then pulling her out caused me to rip really badly. So I had a 4th-degree tear, and it was too much for my midwives to sew up, so I had to get like a surgeon to come in and do my stitches. The whole stitching process took a while since it was such a bad tear, and I think that was even more painful for me than the whole labor, because they had to push so hard on my belly to make sure I wasn't clotting and then stitch at the same time. And I didn't have any medicine or numbing or anything, so it was really quite painful. And I just remember feeling so much blood release, like crazy amounts. And I had these slippers on that we forgot to take off, and they were soaked in blood. The moment I did that final push and my midwife pulled out our baby was the most surreal moment of my life. Like, feeling her leave my body and be there in the real world was insane. I was in disbelief. I think I went into shock. I didn't even say anything. I just looked shocked, and like I looked stunned in my face. And Andre started to cry right away. So did my sister. And then they placed her on my chest, and my sister cut the umbilical cord, and she right away tried to climb up my body to nurse. That reflex that they have when they're newborns, where they can physically climb up your body to find where to get the milk from, which is really cool. That was a cool experience. And then Andre and I just bonded with her and held her, practiced nursing and breastfeeding. And then later on, like an hour or two later, they weighed her and did all that after we had all of our skin-to-skin time. We signed out the documents we needed to, and I was actually released from the hospital 4 hours after I delivered her. I was still bleeding a lot, but there were so many babies being born, they needed the space, and I was in pretty good shape, just in so much pain from my tear and all the blood. But it's pretty wild to think I left the hospital that soon after delivering a baby. One thing that I'm so grateful for in my experience, and will definitely try to do again for this baby, is hiring a birth photographer. So it was one of my good friends who offered to come and shoot our birth for us and document. She took the most amazing photos. There's so much emotion and memories captured in them. I will forever cherish them. And my most favorite ones are when I went out to meet my family. They all waited there for me the whole 7 hours I was in active labor, plus the 4 hours after. They stayed there and waited, which is amazing. Even my grandma stayed. It was incredible. And being pushed out in the wheelchair, holding Mila to them, I cried. I felt so much love, and it's a feeling I can never ever forget. It makes me emotional every time I talk about it because it was so special. So yeah, that's how we brought Mila to the world. My postpartum experience is a whole nother story. It was a really big challenge for me with infections and depression, lots of things. But the birth and the whole pregnancy journey is some of my favorite memories ever. Because I had a pretty fast labor with Mila, like 7 hours of active labor isn't that long compared to some moms. They anticipate this baby will come really fast, like within 4 or 5 hours. So I'm gonna have to act a little faster and get to the hospital quite soon to make sure I don't have a car baby. Thanks for watching Mila's birth story and hearing more about how we brought her into the world. It was the best day of my life, and I'm sure this will be the second best day of my life. I'll also do a birth story for baby boy, and we're planning to capture some video footage as well, so I'll add that to his little vlog. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe below to follow along for more and so you don't miss baby boy's video.